Thank you for tuning in to the Patricia Show. My name is Patricia, and let's talk. Please press subscribe and like, and then share. Share this audio with someone who you think may need it. Now, I decided to do a part three on grief. Now, a lot of you are, I want you to listen carefully before you get mad at me about this, what I'm going to say, because it is so true if you just sit back and think about it. When someone leaves us and passes on, we grieve them because we miss them. And we're going to miss the fact that we're not going to be able to interact with them in the way that we know how. You'll interact with them again because you'll see them after you pass on. And we'll see one another in our pure, authentic form and our light, as the light or consciousness, right? But you're not going to see that person on this in the human form anymore. So we grieve for that. And there's nothing wrong with that. You're grieving for a relationship or a loss of a person that you'll never see in this way again. You will see them, but not in this way, okay? Now, I get that. When you're grieving, you have to also think about the other person that you're grieving for, because they're going to a place where we don't remember anything about it, okay? So some of you may think that they're dead and gone and they don't exist anymore, which is totally not true. They do exist, just in another form, okay? But still, you're not thinking about what's happening to them. In other words, you're not thinking, okay, if they were on this earth and then they completed their time on this earth, then they're going on to bigger or better things, number one. Or as the religious teaches you, they're gone home to be with the Father, okay? So whatever your belief is, they're gone home to be with God, they're gone home to evolve to a different level, a higher level. They learned so much in this life, and so now they're going to transform into a higher level of life. You're not even thinking about that. You're only grieving for yourself because you are not going to see this person anymore, okay? When my mother passed, she came to me what appeared to be like a vision. It was so real. And she said to me, "Stop grieving for me. I don't want to come back there. I like where I am." And then I have a friend who, when her brother had passed, she said that she had such a vivid dream that he came to her and said, "Come, go with me." And he took her in her spirit body to where you go when you die, right? And she said she was looked like the people who were there. They everybody had some work or something they were doing, and she said that when it was time for her to go, he said to her, "It's time for you to go back now." And then he said to her, "Please don't grieve for me anymore, because I don't want to come back there. I want to stay where I am." And then she said the next thing she knew, she woke up in her body. Okay? So now, not just me and my friend has had this. There's people who had near-death experiences that also talk about things like that when they had the near-death experience, they didn't want to come back into their body. The point that I'm trying to make here is that when you're grieving, you're only thinking about yourself. You're not thinking about the other person. And what is that? That is very selfish. I think that a person who is narcissistic would have a very difficult time when they lost a loved one with the grief process, because they're only going to think about themselves. Why did the person leave me? Why did the person do this to me? Why did the person put me in this situation? They're not thinking about the person that has passed on at all. When my mother came to me and said to me, stop grieving for her, she liked it where she was and didn't want to come back here, I immediately stopped crying. Even though I wasn't ready to stop the grieving, I stopped because I thought clearly my grieving is affecting my mother's spirit. If I'm grieving, I must be pulling her energy back to the earth atmosphere because she's worried about me. So she keeps coming back to the earth atmosphere because I'm grieving. And then later on, I found out that that was true. When we grieve, we pull our loved ones back to us, their energy. Okay, so I thought, oh my God, I didn't want to do that. I wanted my mother. My mother was finished with her life here. Even though I would miss her, I wanted her to go on to do whatever you do in the spirit form when you passed. I wanted her to go to bigger, better things. Clearly, she had graduated from the earth atmosphere because she was going back home. Now, I don't know if that means she was fixing to go or be with God or go, I didn't know. But even if it was going to be with God, let me release her and let her do that. Why would I hold her back here? We don't realize how selfish we are. And so when we are grieving, that's very selfish. Now, like I said in the beginning, fine, I get it. But at what point are you thinking about the person that died? Because clearly you're thinking of yourself, how you feel, how you're going to miss them, how you. It's not all about you. That person has left this earth too. Do you give any thought to how they feel? Do you give any thought to, hey, they're glad to be away from earth and they don't want to come back here? Do you even think about that? Do you even think that the fact every time you're crying, you pull them back to you? Or are you simply thinking about you? Or do you not think that they have feelings of any kind because they're in spirit form? You're still disrupting their energy when you constantly are pulling them back into an environment through your tears that they don't want to be. Now, I know that nobody has told you this before. So that's why I said you'll be really like, oh my gosh, she's very heartless. And no, I'm not. I'm thinking about you, but I'm thinking about the person that you're grieving for too. Because like you have feelings, they have feelings too. Okay? It's very selfish to think about you. I'm going to miss them. I'm not going to see them no more. I want to cry for them. I want them here. At what point does it become, I don't want to maybe make their spirits feel uncomfortable, so I'm going to try not to grieve so hard? Or let me go get counseling so that I can grieve it, bring it all out, so I won't keep have to prolonging this grief. I want to grieve it out. Now, sometimes when you understand the process of dying or what that really means, that can change your perspective right there and make you stop grieving. My friend years ago, her grandmother had died, and I was just coming into this spiritual path. So I was sharing with her like, hey, because let me go back. When I used to think that when you die, you're dead and gone. That's what they would teach, that you're dead and gone. Because my family were Muslim, so you're dead and gone, and your spirit don't even live on, which didn't make much sense to me because I knew a spirit couldn't die. But anyway, that's what they were taught, that you just go in the ground and that's it, right? So then when I found out, hey, that's not true, because all these near-death experiences were happening, and I was reading about that you live on. So I remember telling my friend when her grandmother had died about what these people were saying that was having near-death experiences. And she was just so fascinated because she was very close with her grandmother. So she, was really grieving her a lot. And then I was sharing with her, like, hey, she's not dead. You're gonna see her again. Hey, she's living on. And I was telling her, my friend said to me that when I was telling her these things, it really helped with the grieving process, and she was able to release her grandmother and let her go on, because she realized that her grandmother was not just leaving here, but she was going to something more grander or something more bigger. And maybe she had graduated and going to go to a more enlightenment. You know what I mean? She didn't know, but she began to change her perspective. So therefore, when she changed her perspective about what happens when we die, her grieving began to stop. And I remember years later, she told me that she didn't think that she could have made it through that grieving process if I had not shared that information with her. So sometimes when you really understand the dying process, or what really happens to us when we go, it can help you with your grieving, because for one thing, you're thinking about the other person and you realize, oh, they're not just dead and gone. They do live on. I'm going to see them again. They are growing, because you're thinking about them too, the person that have died. And so when you're thinking about how their life has changed and gotten better, even though they're not here in the physical form, their life is even better than what we the ones still got hell going on here. They don't. And so that makes you happy. And you're happy for your loved ones, because you're like, hey, they're going to a bigger and better place. Hey, you get happy for them. That's if you're thinking about them. If you're just a narcissistic or a very selfish person, girl, you're not going to even think about that. You're going to go back to me, 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 me. This lady was grieving, and I said to her, she said to me, why did her loved ones leave her? Like, this is something personal they did to her. That's a narcissistic, first of all. Why did they leave? Why did her loved one do this to her? Going back to her, right? So I told her, well, I could help her with this, because, I have helped thousands of people in the grief process. She said to me, I'm not thousands of people. This is me. My life. This is me. But I was trying to tell her that I had experience doing this, so I'm sure I can help her too. But she kept bringing it back to me. This is about me, not thousands of people. Why did he leave me? Why did he die? He knew it would be hard for me. That's a narcissistic person. The whole thing, the whole grieving process is about me, 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 me. Nothing about how the other person is feeling. After all, their life was cut short. You know what I mean? They're the ones cut short. They're the ones that transforms from here. So nowadays, like back in the 90s or maybe the 80s, you didn't even hear about near-death experience. Now it's all over the place. So you were able to hear how people are experiencing, experiencing out-of-body near-death experiences, and how they don't want to come back here, and they're happy where they are and all that. Now you're able to just pick up books and read about it. So in my closing, I want to say that we need to not only in that grieving process think about ourselves, but we need to think about the loved ones that we've lost. And we need to be happy for them, because they don't want to come back here and they're glad to have left. So we need to think about that. The grieving process shouldn't be all about you. It's about the other person too. Thank you so much for tuning in to Patricia's show. My name is Patricia. Have a great week.